Page layout grids. In the previous section, we used the float property to lay out a page in sections that floated alongside each other. In this section, we will explore how to generalize this technique by creating a page layout based on a grid. Overview of grid-based layouts. Grids are a classic layout technique that has been used in publishing for a long time, and like many other publishing techniques, it can be applied to web design. The basic method is to imagine that the page is comprised of intersecting rows and columns that form a grid. The rows are based on the page content. A long page with several components might span several rows, or it could be a home page that fits within a single row. The number of columns is based on the number that provides the most flexibility in laying out the page content. Many grid systems are based on 12 columns because 12 is evenly divisible by 2, 3, 4, and 6. But other sizes are also used. Figure 3-29 shows a 12-column grid layout. Please note that the grid is not part of the web page content. Instead, it is used to fit contents onto the page. Using a grid has several advantages, such as it can add order to the presentation of web page content by adding visual rhythm, which is pleasing to the eye. Second is a consistent logical design gives readers the confidence to find the information they seek. New contents can be easily placed within a grid in a way that is consistent with previously entered information. Next is a well-designed grid is more easily accessible for users with disabilities and special needs. And finally, grids speed up the development process by establishing a systematic framework for the page layout. There are two basic types of grid layouts: fixed grids and fluid grids. In a fixed grid, the width of the columns and margins are specified in pixels, where every column has a fixed position. Many fixed grid layouts are based on a page width of 960 pixels because most desktop screens width are at 1024 pixels or higher, and a 960 pixel width leaves room for browser scroll bars and other features. The problem with a fixed grid layout is that it does not account for other screen sizes, and thus a fluid grid in which column width are expressed in percentage rather than pixels is often used to provide more support across different devices. A framework is a software package that provides a library of tools to design a website, includes style sheets for grid layouts and built-in scripts to provide support for a variety of browsers and devices. Some popular CSS frameworks include Bootstrap, YAML4, 960 Grid System, Foundation 3, HTML5, Boilerplate, and Skeleton. Now let's discuss how to set up a grid. A grid layout is based on rows of floating elements. Each floating element constitutes a column. The set of elements floating side by side establishes a row. Many grid layouts use the div or division element to mark distinct rows and columns of the grid. This is an example of a simple grid consisting of a single row with two columns. The page content is placed within the div elements. Using this HTML code will result in the grid layout shown in the next slide. Note that this layout consists of a single row with two columns, with the first column itself containing three columns arranged across two rows. Remember, though, that the actual column width are not set by the class names. Instead, they are defined in the style sheets. The class names are just aids for us to interpret the grid layout in the HTML file. The code for the grid layout for the Pandasia chocolate website is given in this slide. Its layout consists of three main rows. The first row contains the page title, and the third row contains the page footer. The second row consists of two columns. The first column displaying information about the company, and second column displaying a list of frequently asked questions. Within the first row is a nested 2x2 grid containing short articles about chocolate.